And we're on. Welcome back.
Yep.
Dad's Beer Club podcast. This week I'm joined by Junior. Junior, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. Feeling really excited to be on this podcast.
No, good. And please you agreed to come on. I know, Junior, we connected via Instagram. I know you've got a really, really good page where you're sharing your journey into fatherhood with your little boy. And that's where we sort of crossed paths, if you will, well, both pages. And pleased you've agreed to come on.
Thank you. Yeah.
Look, normally one of the first things we always do on Dad's Beer Club is check what everybody's drinking for this evening. But I'll be completely honest, I've been on tea for the last couple, and I'm still on the tea.
That's a good choice. I mean, I've keeping it simple here. I'll be going to bed soon to try and keep myself hydrated.
No, that's it. I just brought one of them, massive, like 3 or 4 litre jugs that has the time on it throughout the day.
Do you know what? I think that came out around 2 or 3 years ago, and everyone used to have them. I'm just like, it's not that deep. If you're gonna drink water, just buy water, not having this. But it does help, though. It does.
No, I've got.
Keep you motivated.
I have this. I carry it around everywhere.
I mean, do you finish it?
Mostly, yeah.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah, so I'm definitely guilty of not drinking enough water. So this has really helped me out with just having it around, I think.
Yeah. I know. Did I have that? No, I didn't have that. I used to work at a job in the cafe, and we used to be close to where they serve the food, and the counter was really, really hot. And I thought, I feel like I'm therefore getting dehydrated. So I set myself this goal. So I would buy every day. I would buy like a 2-liter bottle of water from the shop on my way to work, and my aim is to finish that. But obviously, the downside of that is that I have to go to the toilet like literally, it was so crazy, like to the point that my wee was pure, was transparent, like it was pure. I was just like, oh, this is good, but at the same time, not so good.
Yeah. So, Junior, just before we get in, I thought I'd just touch base on something that's been going on. Did you watch the Meghan and Harry interview on Monday?
I still haven't watched it, no.
You've not watched it? I think you must be the only one in the country that hasn't.
I won't be surprised. Still haven't. My wife actually watched it today, and I think for me, when I get home in the evening, my evenings are so busy. I'm just like, I don't have time to spend on the 2-hour interview. I think that's what's putting me off. It's 2 hours.
Yeah, I've been consumed by it. Be honest, my wife watched it. I say my wife watched it. I watched it as well, to be completely honest. But I've just started cycling, so when I'm on my bike, I have like YouTube clips on, and it's on autoplay, so it just spins through the videos, and it's just been Harry and Meghan. Every video that's come on, it's been everywhere.
Wow. I mean, I guess I'm therefore one of them ones that I haven't seen it.
No.
Yeah, I mean, I will see maybe sometime this weekend.
Yeah. I didn't think there was that much revelation. I think there's people have been getting a little hyped up about not a lot, really.
I think you're probably right. Like, thinking back now, just based on what I've heard so far, it's just there's nothing really new apart from, I guess, the racist remarks and I think that would be the only thing that's surprising. I guess the other stuff would be them getting into details about what actually the structure of the royal family and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Apart from that, it's quite basic.
Yeah, the racist remarks. I think that just depends on the context of the conversation, doesn't it? Because I'm brown. My mum's dark. My dad's white, so I'm mixed race. My wife is Irish, so she's super white. So when we were having ours, we would have conversations like, "Oh, I wonder what he's going to look like." That's just curiosity, I suppose. Yeah. So I guess it's the context, isn't it, that's important?
Exactly. And I guess in this day and age, that's just a sensitive issue. And I guess the issue was that there was a lot going around with Harry and Meghan, and I think that was sort of just like an icing on the cake for them, for someone to actually bring that up in the
Yeah.
conversation. Although it might not even, like you said, it might not be that much of a big deal. It could have just, been a comment. But there's no negative remarks that went alongside it. But then again, we will never know.
No.
No.
No. Cool, Junior. So look, let's dive straight in. One of the things we always do at the beginning of this podcast is just go right back to the start. So growing up, what was it like for Junior? What was family life like? What was your relationship like with your dad? That sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in Nigeria, so I was born and raised in Nigeria. Came to the UK when I was around the age of 17. So
Okay.
so most of my childhood was all in Nigeria. Yeah, it's going back in time now, really, to be honest. I mean, yeah, growing up was how would I describe it? It's certainly very different to what I can sort of like imagine now, because I guess I live in a different country now, and I can't really see things the way things are right now in Nigeria. So it's totally different. So
I was going to say, is it probably a silly question, but is it much different to kids growing up here than kids growing up over there?
Oh yeah, there's a big difference. Like there, most people are self-employed. So my dad was a taxi driver. So really and truly for him, he will always get up early in the morning, because I guess then the more hours you work, the more likely you are to, I guess, make more money. And so there's a lot of difference. So in terms of like even seeing my dad in the morning, sometimes I don't get to see my dad in the morning before he goes to work.
Okay.
Sometimes he comes home for lunch, but obviously then I'm at work. On the days when then I'm at school.
Yeah.
During holiday time, I may get to see him when he comes home for lunch, or I see him later in the evening when he gets home. But it's totally different from anything here in the UK. The childhood experience is very different. You're more free in a sense as a child. There's no restraint, as long as you do what you need to do at home, so you don't get in trouble when you get home a little bit too late. So it was always fun.
Yeah.
I don't know if I really answered the questions there, because I think there was more than one question.
Was it? Are you from a big family, Junior, or small family?
Family of I mean, are we family of five? Yeah,
Five.
Yeah, I'm the only boy, and I'm the second to last. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So brought up in a house of women, really.
Yep. So
What was that like?
do you know what? Yeah, looking back now, I think I enjoyed it, because I was almost the prince of the home. Like my mom wouldn't let anything touch me.
Right.
I was a favorite, and my sisters were jealous.
Yeah.
That always happened. Yeah.
Did you all move at 17, Junior, or just a couple of you, or what?
No, so my older sister, she moved to the UK, and she brought me to the UK, and that was just because of stuff that was just happening around me in Nigeria with my friends and stuff. So it was quite, as you get older, your families are they're more worried about you, not knowing what's going to happen, and and I see where they were coming from. Although it was just like 10 years ago, but looking back, I'm just like I'm grateful for what they did, because I can see my friends now and what they're into, and it could have been, I could have easily gone that path, because you're more likely to be like your friends, because most of them, they all do the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you talking like gang stuff for getting in trouble that way?
Some of them went into that sort of stuff, but personally looking back, I don't think I would have been that sort of a person. But at the same time, it's just the influence. Some of them are into like criminal activity and stuff like that, and I don't think anyone is above that. It just takes someone to try it once, and then you just keep on going.
Well, yeah, I mean, sometimes well, in fact, a lot of the time, it's not. It's less to do with the person and more about the environment you're brought up in. I've got friends, who were brought up on quite a rough estate in Grantham, Lincolnshire, and some of them went off on bad routes. But it's just that I think you become a product of your environment. And that can happen anywhere, whether it's here, it's in Nigeria, America, France, wherever you are. If the area you've grown up in, no matter what you're like as a person, you could always end up doing something that gets you into trouble, I guess.
That's definitely true. I mean, I agree with that, and I've seen it countless of time, and even in a very short time that I've spent in the UK. I've seen that as well. The environment. Your environment plays a big part of your upbringing. People always say, "No, it's your school, or it's this, it's that," but the environment plays a big part.
Yeah, no, it does 100%. And you see it so many times with. If you look at people in America, right? Did you ever see the case of what was his name? Hernandez. There was a Netflix program, the American footballer. He got done for murder, didn't he?
Mm-hmm.
But obviously, young man, grown up to become a patriot, earning millions and millions of pounds, but just couldn't escape that lure of what he grew up with and the people he had around him, and ended up taking him down the wrong path.
Yeah, exactly. And as a dad, I think for me that I have a boy, it's one of the well, I know. I think it's one of the difficult things. At being a dad of when you have when you have a son. Really, to be honest, that those are the things yourself more worried about. I mean, you'll be worried either way if you have a girl or a boy. But there are certain problems, but like things you need to be aware of when you have a boy, and there are some things when you have a girl. And for me, definitely, I would, my main aim right now is to try and protect my child as much as possible, just like the way my parents tried to protect me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So 17, you said, moving to the UK. Was that much of a culture shock? The difference coming here to going there?
I'm not gonna lie. I'm just gonna say, right? Yeah, I'm still trying to adjust.
Right.
Still trying to adjust. It's crazy. I mean, I'm married and stuff. You'll think that, oh yeah, you'll be fine by now. No, it's so different. It's so different. I can't even explain it. It's so different to the fact that to the point that even when I went to Nigeria 2 years ago for an holiday, and I even felt out of place in a sense, because you almost sort of lose yourself in a sense. You don't really know who you are anymore. Although I've spent more of my life in Nigeria, well, just maybe 7 years more now than I have in the UK, but still, there's just so much difference that like I said, you lose yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess growing up, did you know that you wanted to be a dad? Did you want to have family?
I mean, it depends on when. Yeah, I mean, it's still quite young, so I think I think for some people, I don't think that was something that I was thinking about when I was young. I believe at the point where I started thinking more about being a dad and being married was, I think, when I was around the age of 17, 18.
Yeah.
And I believe for me, around that time, I always had in my mind that I want to get married when I'm young, in my 20s.
Okay.
He actually said I want to get married by the time I'm 24. And I actually got married when I was 23. And it was just crazy because...
Why was that? Because obviously a lot of young men sort of pushed getting married back to, later in the...
later on.
Young guys, they like to go out, they do all sorts of nonsense, but you're thinking, no, I want to get married early.
Yeah, I think for me, my religion did play a big part. But just before that, I would say, I guess I wasn't really exposed to that sort of lifestyle. Because I think sometimes when you sort of have it, you've had a taste of something, it's quite difficult to refrain from it. So I think I was sort of saved from sort of lifestyle. And, you will think that if you've experienced that, sort of the pleasure and the freedom you have from doing certain things as a single guy, it's it gets quite difficult to feel to settle down later on. You feel like, no, I'm not ready yet, but I can still have the fun that comes with being married and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And for me, as a Christian, it's just the right thing to do is to obviously get married when you can, where it is possible. But I would even say even before that, I wasn't, even when I had a desire to say I want to get married when I was, 20, 24, I wouldn't say I was even a Christian then, but it was just something that I had. I thought, what is such a beautiful thing to try and raise children up in a home whereby there's stability and structure.
Yeah. So, I think you just said you wasn't really a Christian then. Did you not grow up in the Christian faith, or you did?
Yeah, I would say I grew up like in a Christian home. Mom and dad always telling us to go to church, even though they wouldn't go to church. But I guess for them, the moral aspect of being a Christian is something that any parent would cherish, whether they're Christians or not. So yeah, I guess that also sort of helped with my mind frame in a sense. My frame of mind. So yeah, it would have helped. But yeah.
I'm a Catholic through Italian family, so Catholic is what we were always going to be. And very, very much like you, when we grew up, I went to Catholic school, and we were going to church. You did communion, all that sort of stuff. But then I sort of lost my way a little bit. I would say probably 18 to 27 before I started to get faith back again. But I think a lot of young people go through that. I think they get it rammed into them as they're young. They lose it a little bit, stop going to church, all that stuff. And then ultimately, if they come back to it, they tend to do that a little bit later into the 20s. But that was certainly my journey.
Yeah. And I think for me, what sort of helped me is that when I came to the UK, it's crazy, man. I mean, when I first came, again, you're new to this world. You're new to a new country. You don't know the ins and outs, and you can easily find yourself in the wrong place again. When I came to the UK, I was living in a place called Peckham in South London, and obviously Peckham is known for being Peckham, isn't it? So, but thankfully, I think someone spoke to me, someone from a church that was just literally a street just next to our street. So they invited me to the church, and I started going there, like literally, I think 2 or 3 weeks after I came to the UK. So that sort of steered me into the right path, because if there weren't that guidance or that sort of like shelter in a sense, whereby I was able to have some people I could call friends, I think it would have been a different story for me.
Yeah, because I mean, I know Peckham. I lived in Beckton for a little bit in East London.
Actually, I live near Beckton now. Actually.
Oh, do you? Yeah, so Beckton.
I live back in Riverside.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I was down there for a couple of years, so I know all too well what it can be like. And like we were saying at the start, you can your environment, you can go one or two ways. And luckily for you went to the church, and that obviously helped steer you onto a better path. Because you could have easily gone the other way.
It's definitely it was there was it was a free word for me, and it was somewhere where
So how was that adapted? So I think you said you came here with your sister, your older sister. Did you know anybody else here,
Yeah,
or
no, I didn't know anyone else. So, a 17-year-old, in London that doesn't know anyone, it's so easy to get, um, what's the word I'm looking for? Sorry, it's not coming to me, but it's so easy to get, come on, recruited into like different stuff, obviously like criminal activities in
yeah?
London. And, it's very popular with youngsters.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think you said you got married at 23.
Yeah, just before I turned 24.
So
So,
when did you meet your partner?
I met my partner at my old local church. So we met at the age of, I think, 18 it was.
Oh wow.
Um,
Okay.
yeah, so we met at the age of 18, and yeah, funny experience. But it's just crazy. Ever since the first time, I sort of set my eyes on her just for, I like this girl, but at the same time, I felt like I was a bit intimidated by her. Like, I was this fresh guy from Nigeria trying to chat up a British girl, like thinking in my head, what am I doing? know, but I just, I thought, I liked her, I liked her personality, and I just thought, what, just be cool, be her friend, and just be yourself, and
Yeah.
I guess that's one thing she said she liked about me, was the fact that I was just being myself. I wasn't pretending to be anyone else.
No. No.
Yeah,
Um, was having kids always something that was on the card? Did you guys ever talk about having kids?
yeah. Having children. I mean, yeah, it was our sort of, yeah, main priority. And I guess for us as a family, we just, when you get married, or when you're thinking of being with someone, that's one of your first priority, I guess. Um, yeah, obviously there are other stuff attached to, to marriage. We did. My wife was pregnant in 2018. Now we had a late miscarriage. Meant to be having a girl, but we had a late miscarriage, and thankfully we, able to fall pregnant again, and then we had our son last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was always been something we really wanted to, but it was quite tricky, because we thought, we are still young, we have to go the best years of our life ahead of us. Why don't we enjoy ourselves? And we're
Yeah.
married, we can do everything we want to do. Maybe when you're getting close to your 30s, you think about having your first child.
Yeah.
But I mean, personally, I would think, in some sense, that can be selfish, in a sense, because you're thinking about yourself. You're saying that I'm gonna do this for myself, and then maybe later on, then I can do X, Y, Z. But as a Christian, our perspective is different. I can't see why I can't enjoy myself if I have a child, or
Yeah.
if I have children. It's still possible to enjoy yourself. It just depends on what sort of enjoyment you're
Just
talking about.
different. It's just different. I mean,
Hmm.
spending time with my little boy, I absolutely love it. We took him away when he was 1, just before he was 1. We took him on holiday. The aeroplanes are a bit of a nightmare with children.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I went away with one of my friends who's got kids. So
Hmm.
rather than going away with the boys, we went as families, and you
Yeah,
still have a great time.
yeah, yeah. And I think that's something a single person cannot really, they can't really fathom that, in a sense. They can't really think that you can have fun as a parent, which is quite, I guess, is also how the society portrays it as well. It's also how they've seen other people's experience. But at the same time, you make your marriage, what you want your marriage to be, what you want your family life to be like. And my wife, I would say, she's always pushing us to enjoy life as much as we can, obviously within our budget, or within a reasonable means. I wouldn't
Yeah.
want to get into debt because I want to have fun or anything like that. But yeah, it's still possible to live the life you want to live,
Yeah.
being a dad or being a parent.
You mentioned a late miscarriage. How did you guys cope with that? How did you adapt to that? Over
Um,
that?
that was not something we planned for. It was
Of
not
course.
something we thought would ever happen to us. It was yeah, it was a crazy time. I didn't know how to react to it. I didn't know how to feel strong, to feel weak, or to feel vulnerable. It was just my head was just all over the place. You know, it did impact our marriage in a lot of ways, but both positive and negative ways. But one thing I would really say is that it did sort of made our marriage more stronger. Um, and yeah, I think the coping mechanism for me was just having people around me who really supported me. That really helped. It wasn't easy, especially because it was a very late miscarriage. So it was very very hard.
Yeah. That, and because I've had a lot of guys on here that have been through that and they have miscarriages. And one of the things they always say, we're touch wood, we've been fortunate. We've never been down that route.
Mm,
But a lot of the guys that I've had on here that have had miscarriages, well, the one thing they always say is that nobody asks dad like how are you doing, like how are you
mm,
coping with it. It's always mom, and which is obviously you want your wife to be looked after, but no one really asks about how the father's doing. And sometimes that can be as traumatic for the men, not
mhm.
physically but mentally.
Mentally, yeah,
um, can be as traumatic as for both. And
yeah.
maybe there needs to be a little bit more light shone on the fact that men struggle with that sort of stuff too.
It's definitely true. It was crazy. I think around that time, I was just searching on the internet, like where do men get help from? Men that have experience of similar stuff. I think for me, I managed to speak to some brothers at my local church who've gone through similar experiences, and that really helped. And I knew I had people or someone that can actually understand how I'm feeling. Um, you know, then again, like you said, I think because it's almost like when a woman is carrying a child, it's saying that it's her child. I guess people forget that this is to have a child. It needs to have person A and person B,
Yeah,
and when something happens to that child, it's going to affect
yeah,
both parties. So
yeah,
yeah, it's definitely true. It's just I guess it's just another taboo in our society that the man shouldn't feel
yeah,
um, the pain in a sense. We almost thought to feel like we have to be there for our wife because our wife are the women are weaker, but it's not always the case. Sometimes I've read stories online about the men even suffering more than the women.
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
yeah,
100%. And it comes back to that. Um, that image of men in society is that men are strong and we are, with the nothing phases us, and you
hmm,
know he'll be all right.
yeah,
Sometimes you go to your mates and you could even say, oh, you could look down and your mates would be like, oh, we can cheer up, mate. Do you know what I
yeah,
mean? That's the way men are drilled to be. They're not drilled to show any vulnerability at all.
hmm,
And I think that's what causes a lot of men's mental health problems, is the fact that a lot of the time they do bottle it up, and because they're afraid to show that vulnerability. And
hmm,
you only have to look at the statistics on like things like suicide, right?
yep,
75% of all suicides are men, and
mm,
that is because men. This isn't the only reason, but the pressure that a lot of men feel to be that alpha male in this society, I think, is often
yeah,
it can often it become overwhelming. And I think by shining a light and allowing people to be vulnerable and not being laughed at for being upset or, you know, feeling down, it's okay to feel down. And I think the more that message is put out in the world, I think the better we'll be for it.
No, I absolutely agree. It's definitely true. It's definitely true.
Yeah. So look, first boy, Jonas, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So talk to us about that. So, how did you find out your partner was pregnant?
So she, I don't know. I think it's always crazy. Obviously, when you first with our first pregnancy, you're scared. Like, oh, you don't know how to feel scared or to feel happy. I was just in between. And with Jonas, it's crazy because I thought, I've had this experience before, so I'm probably gonna be fine. I'm gonna be looking forward to it, especially because we were actively trying, so it wouldn't have come as a surprise or a shock to us. But you still have that knock in the back of your head, like, are you sure you're ready? Are you sure you want to be a dad now?
Junior, how far between miscarriage and trying again?
So I think we started like just as soon as my wife healed up, from the miscarriage. So it was around probably, I would say, 2 months after.
Okay.
Yeah, 2 months after. It was, like I said, I didn't know how to feel, because again, you're having that thought in the back of your head, are you ready? And again, the fear of what happened before, is that going to happen again? That ran through our mind throughout the whole pregnancy. It's crazy. Did
that give you like anxiety about? Or, I suppose for your wife, I just relate that back to. So I had a heart attack.
Oh wow!
What are we? How old am I now? 36. When I was 27. So 9 years ago, and I just remember after that, for like good 12 months, literally, I would notice any change on my body, like the slightest little thing, and I'd be at the doctors and I'd be like, wow, this doesn't feel right, or that doesn't feel right. Yeah. Because you become hypersensitive to the situation. So I imagine from your wife's point of view, she was probably very similar to that.
Yeah, we were both very anxious. Like, we would go to our scans, and because of what happened before, we were being monitored every 2 weeks, I believe. So literally, we go for a scan every 2 weeks, and you can imagine how you're just very nervous. You're just there waiting to hear the heartbeat, just to hear it. And once you hear it, then you're fine. I think for us that was very, very difficult. But
do you mind me asking? Do you mind me asking? Well, how far were you on the miscarriage? How far on were you?
She was 28 weeks. Yeah, 28 weeks.
So it was 6 months.
Yeah, so it was nearly 6 months. Yeah, it's 28 weeks. So I mean, it was crazy because when we then passed that point with Jonas, you're still very nervous because anything can still happen. Anything can happen, even up to the point of birth. So we were just very, very nervous. And obviously when Jonas came, it was crazy. You don't know how to feel, you don't know how to react. What's the baby gonna look like?
Did you find out what you were having, or did you leave that as a surprise?
I mean, we were trying to leave it as a surprise, or just for I might just find out. Yeah, I think it will be very hard for us to try and just keep it a surprise.
I don't know. I don't know how parents do it. Honestly, like
I don't know how people do it.
My wife's friend, they're just about to have a baby, and they've waited the whole way through, and I'm like, wow, like how could you do it? Like we paid to have an early scan just to find out what we were having.
Yeah, I know a lot of people that do that because they just can't wait. And I believe for us, we already had names down, whether a boy or a girl. We just wanted to be referring to the child, by their name, not
Yeah.
baby or whatever it is. So as soon as we found out, we started referring to him, by his
Yeah.
name.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is our
So
child.
was names easy? Did you both agree?
She came up with a name. We had a list of names, and I thought, you know what, that sounds lovely. So yeah, I didn't, yeah, but obviously with the other middle names, and I said, yeah, well, this has to be there, and it has to be a name whereby we both have to agree on.
Yeah. We changed. So my little boy is called Leonardo,
Okay.
and he was called Luca right up until the birth, pretty much.
Oh wow.
So,
Oh wow.
so we were like, I like Luca. And do you know what it was that put us off? Do you watch Peaky Blinders?
No.
No. Okay, so in Peaky Blinders, so we watched that, and in the last season, I think it was like season 4 or whatever it is, they got into trouble or they got involved with the American mafia.
Yeah.
And there was this guy that was coming over every week, and he was called Luca Tancredi. So every week in the build-up in the pregnancy, we were watching and hearing Luca, and in the end, we just went, "Yeah, we don't like that anymore."
Oh wow.
So
That
then
was
it was going to.
for you guys to change it then.
Yeah, well then that's when the argument started, because we both agreed on Luca,
Yeah.
and then I wanted Maximiliano, and
Wow.
which for sure you could call him Maxi, and my wife likes that, and she agreed on that. But in Italian, there's no X in the alphabet.
Ah.
Okay, so how you spell it is Massimiliano, so it's double S, but you pronounce it Maximiliano, right?
Ah, wow.
So she was saying, "Oh, we can have Maximiliano, but only if we have the X." And I was like,
Yeah.
"But that's the Spanish spelling. I'm not Spanish." So we couldn't agree for ages on that, and then we settled on Leonardo. But my wife hates Leonardo. She loves Leo, but hates Leonardo. So she calls him Leo. I call him Nardo.
And that's
It's a compromise.
Yeah, I guess it's a good compromise. I mean, I guess your son must be very confused then at first. Like, why are you calling me Leo? Why are you calling me Nado? I'm very sure that first few years of his life was really confused, like what's going on.
Yeah. Okay, so the day of the birth, what was that like? Were you together when she went into birth?
Yeah. I drove her to the hospital, and everything was amazing. It's crazy.
Was it a planned cesarean, or was it waters broke into hospital?
No, she was just having contractions at home.
Okay.
So told me she was having a contraction on Monday evening, and from like 6 p.m. after I got home from work, we tried to just stay at home. We thought it could have been, what's it called? The fake contraction and stuff like that.
Okay.
But it just continued throughout the night. And then I thought, okay, we tracked the contractions, and we thought, let's just stay at home and see. We called the hospital, and they said, "Oh, it sounds like you're still very early on." But by 5 or 4 a.m., she was just like, "Nah, she can't do this anymore." So we got ready to go to the hospital. So I had to drive in. So the drive. So obviously, I live in Riverside in Barking, but we chose St. Thomas's Hospital in the Westminster. So had to drive all the way there. By the time we got there, she was already 6 centimeters dilated. So I guess we made the right decisions to go in. Everything was good. We were being monitored, like literally. So we did something called home from home, because we just wanted to have the experience of not being in the labor ward. So we had our room to ourselves,
Okay.
throughout the whole process. But obviously you wouldn't have access to like epidural and stuff like that. It was just only like gas and hair and
Yeah.
aromatherapy. Yeah, aromatherapy was. And if you wanted a water bed, there was like a pool like next door.
Yeah.
But we didn't use that. So everything thankfully went well. Yeah, it was a good birth experience. Yeah.
How long was it?
So we got to the hospital from at 7. So she was still 6 centimeters up to about like I think maybe 11. And then it was crazy how it changed from like 6 to like 9 centimeters. Like we checked, it was just like, oh, you're still 6 centimeters. And then it checked again because my wife was feeling like she had the urge to push. But obviously, you know how complicated it is that you can't push too early and you can't push too late. Just try and keep yourself together. And then they
Yeah.
checked again. She was 9. And I think around this time the time was around like 1 a.m. 1 p.m. So
Okay.
yeah, and she became. I mean, I would say active labor went on for like 2 hours. And
Wow.
it was fine.
I remember
Yeah,
speaking to a guy the other day who said that when they got they were in hospital for 52 hours in labour.
I heard that, and I'm just like, how is that even possible? When I heard, I always ask, "Are you sure? Do you mean active labor or when the cramps start?" But I do
Yeah.
have gone through that. I'm just like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. Well, we had a planned cesarean, so we had a time. We got in. We knew what day it was going to be, and
Yeah. Do you
done.
only have one child or two?
We have one.
You have one. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd love to have more, but I can't convince my wife that she wants any.
I mean, that's one benefit when you're a bit young sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah.
You tend to have more time to sort of
I
negotiate.
I had to really negotiate hard for the one because she didn't even want one.
Oh wow.
So
Oh,
yeah, she started. She put all the roadblocks in the. So it'd be like I started saying. So my boy is nearly 3. So about 31, 32, I'm starting saying, do you know what? My wife's 3 years younger than me, so I'm starting to say, do you know, I quite fancy having kids, and she's like, no, I don't want them, and I'm like, we should have kids. And she's
yeah.
like, okay, well, we've got to buy a house. I want to get married. So she's putting all these things in the way, and I was like, okay. So
Yeah.
just got married, bought the house, and I was like, right, now we're having a kid.
You see, I think I'm sort of lucky I didn't have those sort of issues because I think I would still be on the journey of trying to buy a house. So
Yeah.
do everything like that.
Especially down there, Jesus, I wouldn't even like to think about buying a house in London.
When you say you leave now?
Manchester, well, near Manchester.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. I mean, yeah. You have to be, I guess, on a crazy salary to afford a house here in London.
I get annoyed buying a pint in London.
Everything is double the price here. It's crazy.
Yeah,
It's like crazy, dude. And it's just hard because for us, our support network are all in London, and and when we do think like, oh, we're going to try and save up and buy somewhere else, we're just like, we don't know anyone else in this area. How are we going to be coming to church? And it's just, but I know what you would get for the amount of money you would pay for like a
uh,
1 or 2 bed here. Probably have a 3, 4 bedroom outside London.
yeah. I mean, I've got a friend who lives Clapham Junction. He's got a one bed apartment. It's like £580,000.
That's easy. Yeah. Even the back in Riverside, yeah, because it's an up and coming area, I think a 1 bed flat is going for 350
Jesus.
for a 1 bed flat. And it's crazy for a 1 bed. And I know you can go to like even somewhere just down the road like Luton and you're getting a 3, 4 bed flat for that same price.
Yeah. Well, we got a 3 bed detached up here.
Oh wow. Wow. But again, I mean, I guess the older you get, sometimes you're more mature and you think about the fact that it's not just about sometimes being close to like everything you want to have, but you have to
Yeah,
think about yourself and your family.
yeah.
I think that's the
I
thing
think it. I think it's important to make sure that you've got the support around you though, because it's not easy, is it? As you know,
yeah.
coming into it, having kids now, and you do need. So we live Cheshire, but
Mhm.
all my family live in Lincolnshire.
Okay.
So like near Nottingham that way. So
Hmm.
my family are miles away, but my wife's family are all from the area. And without the support that they give, I think it'd be near
Yeah.
impossible. Near impossible. I actually, one of my neighbours has just had a kid, and I think their family are in Essex, so it's like a long way away for any
And I
support.
think,
So
and I think that's one of the things people. That's one of the reasons why people push having children like just very
yeah,
far out, because they feel like, one, if they don't have that support, what's the point of having to go through the struggle? And it's even been really difficult for us in some aspects because of the pandemic. And even though we even
yeah,
live in London, you still find that you're still not close to people as much as you you would love to.
yeah,
But thankfully, our brother and sister-in-law were able to move into the same block as us, so they just live upstairs from us. So we're able to
oh,
form a
okay,
support bubble, and it's crazy, man. Like, I've truly appreciated just that support,
yeah.
because if we didn't have it, yeah, it would have been very different and very difficult.
So how old is Jonah?
Jonas is just on 21 in January, so
Okay,
he's 13 months old. Yeah.
yeah. So okay, yeah, pretty much brand new baby, and then the world goes into full lockdown for you
Yep.
guys.
Yep. It's a lockdown grown baby.
Yeah, yeah. So he's really not seen much of the outside world at all.
No, it's
Yeah, play
crazy. But
centers, all that sort of stuff. Not been able to
no,
go.
no, it's funny because I work in a play center. So I work like in a short start children's center, and
Yeah,
I was looking forward to, like, I've seeing him there, telling my wife to come, and yeah, and that hasn't. I think it happened when the restrictions were lifted. They only happened like once.
yeah,
But yeah, it's barely been to places like that. Yeah,
yeah,
and
yeah. Yeah. I feel. I think you. I was going to say you got lucky. What I mean that is that you had him in January, so you had the first couple of months where people could come and see him. You can take him out to friends and
mhm,
family. I feel sorry for the parents that have had babies in lockdown and they've not been able to
I've not been able
share
to.
that experience
Yeah,
with friends and family.
yeah. I mean, it's funny because there are people who actually prefer that. I know, because obviously I work with parents, and I've seen just I met well, my friend actually met a parent who just had twin, and she
Wow,
said she actually liked the fact that no one is coming around because it's
she likes
more
it.
literally, yeah, and just like, oh, okay, I wouldn't think people would actually appreciate that, but at the same time, I understand it because you always feel like you're being pressurized to do something that you don't want to do because my mother-in-law is around, my mom is around, so I feel like I need to do this or do certain things in a certain way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this in one of the blogs that I wrote, I talked about how just ignore what people say to you because
Hmm.
people are very quick to say, "Oh, you need to do this or you need to do that or I did this and if you do this it'll work." But all kids are different, right?
Yep.
So what works for your kid won't work for my kid. So
Yeah.
yeah, take the advice, but just don't. A lot of people put pressure on themselves to actually do everything that my mum said or everything that my
Yeah.
dad said, and they're so different. The kids,
Hmm. Hmm. I
even
mean,
even within the family. So I've friends
yeah.
who had one kid, and the second kid's a complete different animal.
It's so true. I mean, because I work with children, and I say this a lot. So I think from day one, I've always just said, I even say to my to my fellow fathers and just say, look, one big mistake you ever do to yourself is to compare your child to someone else's
Yeah.
child. And that's something that I'm still telling myself every single day, like, look, do not compare Jonas with his child, because
Yeah.
he's different, he's unique. And that's one thing, fathers needs to realize that, look, your child is unique, and
Yeah.
your child's path is different from another child's path. So it's just think about your child and his development, and support your child in the way that, that support will sort of help him and shape him in the way that, he's meant to grow.
And it's so easy to compare though, because that's what we do, isn't it? The age of social media, everybody's looking at what everybody else is doing. When the reality is that a lot of what you see on social media isn't real anyway.
Nah.
So
90% ain't real.
Yeah, so that's people put a lot of pressure on making sure they look good for the gram, or making sure that they're living up to these lifestyles. I know a lot of guys that go out, obviously not now because nobody can go out, but before, they'll go out, they'll be splashing bottles of champagne, they'll be doing this, but then they'll be skint for the rest of the month.
Yep.
But their Instagram looks good.
Yeah. I mean, it's very difficult. Even for me, it's something that I also have to wrestle with. I'm trying my best to obviously share my journey and stuff like that, but I'm also trying not to just make it look glorious in a sense. But at the same time, it is, fatherhood is difficult. Raising a child is very hard. Especially
you've got some brilliant photos on yours, I must admit. At first, I didn't even, to be honest, I didn't even know what country you lived in, to be honest.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because the pictures you've got, you're skiing,
No,
you're abroad.
Remember, man.
Very well travelled.
Try my best. Try with my camera skill here and there. But it's not. So I think, again, for me, I haven't really put a lot of time into that, because I literally just started. I think it was it this year? I think it was. Yeah, I think it was this year. I think it was January, actually. I had a normal Instagram page, and I thought, you know what? There's no purpose in this. Let me try and see what other dads are doing out there. How dads are encouraging themselves, because there are a lot of like mom bloggers and stuff like that, but it's not really for dads. So before you know what, let me make my Instagram page way much purposeful. So I thought, let me start this and support that. But I think one of the things I'm aiming to be doing more is to also share the difficult parts, the real stuff.
Yeah. And do you know what? It's exactly that is the reason why I started doing what I've done. I started the blog, and I just started writing, and I started to enjoy that creative process of doing that. And then someone said to me, well, "Why don't you do a podcast as well?" I thought, you know what? That's a good idea. And the whole point is to just tell the story of pregnancy and growing up, but from the perspective that you don't often hear, because you often hear about mum and baby's doing great, mum and baby are doing fine. You often hear that, but you don't always hear, well, how did dad do throughout all of that? How was dad feeling? How has life changed for dad? And actually, a lot of men have struggled through becoming a dad for the first time. And I think if someone can tell their story about how they struggled, and somebody else listens to that and thinks, actually, do you know what? I'm not on my own. I'm feeling like I had one of the guys that I interviewed, a good friend of mine, actually, but I didn't know this about him. But what he said was the first 3 months, he really struggled to connect with his child. I just couldn't connect. And then it was 3 months in, like a light bulb clicked, and it was just like,
wow.
But he really struggled. And I think sometimes some men, because the statistic we talked about earlier, when we talked about 75% of men that kill themselves, there's one statistic that isn't often talked about within that, and within that 75%, 33% of them are new fathers.
Wow.
So could it be as simple as that? sometimes they haven't connected with the child and they're thinking, why? What's wrong with me? Why haven't I connected? And I think if someone else can tell that story and somebody else can listen and hear, actually, I'm not alone. Somebody else has gone through this.
Mm-hmm.
That's all it's all about.
No, it's definitely true. I mean, for me, yeah, thankfully, I mean, I'm just trying to think if if I ever had that experience. I think, yeah, it was. I think for me right now, it's even trying not to love my child more than I love my wife. I think right now, I think that's a struggle for me because it's the love and affection I pour into my child is just I can't contain it. I just love him so much, and I try just to try not to make my wife too jealous.
It's hard. It's hard, and do you know what? It's a hard one to explain that as well, because I've got I've told this story a lot on here, but I've got a friend who just doesn't understand. He's single. You'd be surprised to hear, but he just can't understand how you would love a child. He's like,
Yeah.
I went out with him one day, and he was like, so I went out for dinner with him and my little boy, and he just turned to me and went, "But do you love him?" I was like, yeah. And he's like, but why? Like, what's he done? Like, why do you love? And it's hard to explain, but you do get that instant, like, just yeah.
Yeah, it's nothing. Yeah, like you said, like what have they done? It's nothing they've done. It's just crazy. I don't know what it is. I don't know why, but it's just there.
Yeah, do you know what? It also amazes me why or how dads can walk away and not want to have any involvement in their kid's life. Look, I get that parents split up sometimes, and sometimes it's unavoidable. But then to split up and not have any involvement in your kid's life, I find that unacceptable.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know what to say to that because, yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. I mean, like we've said and established before, it is difficult, of course, but it's just that when you're getting home from work and the first person when your your son or your daughter sees you, like the smile they give you and they run towards you. You can't compare that to anything. Sometimes your wife doesn't even give you that.
My wife definitely doesn't give me that.
And it's just crazy. Like, look, there's someone that cares about me, that is like eager for me to get home and stuff like that. Yeah. It's crazy.
Are you a football fan, Junior?
Yeah, therefore. I mean, well, fortunately, the team right next to you, so I support United. So
good, yeah. So same. I'm supporting United. Because I was gonna say, I don't know if you've seen, but have you seen that banner at Old Trafford which says "United Kids Wife"?
No,
in that order. It's famous. It's been there years, but it says "United Kids Wife."
No, I've never seen that one. No.
Did you watch the game today?
I did. A bit annoyed. I knew that was going to happen because we are prone to be conceding on set piece. So I was looking forward to. I was just like, I wasn't confident because the way Milan were just on us for the last 20 minutes, I was like, yeah, they're going to get a goal. It's just a matter of time.
Just so inconsistent, United at the minute. Like we battered City at the weekend, and then tonight.
Do you know what? I'm not gonna lie. I didn't expect United to win tonight. I didn't even expect to get a draw. No, I did not expect us to get a draw. No. I was looking for us to lose that game because we don't have a lot of our key players. So I thought, if anything, if we lose, please try not to lose by a bad result, because going to San Siro to try claim the winning will be very difficult.
Yeah.
So a draw was a fair point. I would say we didn't deserve the draw. Milan therefore deserved the win tonight, but then again, I guess the team defended well.
Yeah.
So we'll see next week.
So, Junior, moving forward, wrapping up because we're nearly at the end of this podcast. But any more kids in the future? Do you think?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. We would love to have more kids. We're just trying to plan our way around it. it is still very tricky not knowing what the future holds. So, we want
Yeah,
to try and make sure we're in the best position and
yeah,
be ready to have more kids. So we don't want to do it without planning. But at the same time, we don't want planning to deter us from having more kids, because there's always a lot of things people say, oh, marriage is difficult, but we find that it's not as difficult as people make it out to be. Oh, having children is difficult, but we've had one, and thankfully it's been okay. We've been able to survive. It's been a year, and still going well. So we're just trying to have the right balance,
mm.
and a purpose for our family. So definitely, we would love to have more kids.
Did you want a boy, or did you have any preference on that?
You know what? It's crazy. I would have thought I would love to have a girl at first, but now I don't think I'll. Yeah, going forward, I wouldn't have any preference. I just think, your children is just, the children, you love them for boy or girl.
Yeah, I see, because I knew that I had one shot and that was it. I was I was desperate for a boy. It had to be a boy.
Yeah,
So I got
yeah,
lucky. I got lucky.
and
But I'm not even embarrassed to admit that when I found out I was having a boy, I cried my eyes out. I was
wow,
so happy. But
yeah,
I think, and actually before that, I was always like, it better be a boy. It better be. I don't want a girl. I don't want a girl. If it's a girl, I'm going to be upset. But I think now I've got the boy. I would love to have a little girl.
yeah, yeah. I mean, there's always that sort of, um, just inch, like you just want to have, you want to feel how different it would be to have a girl. Like, would there be
Yeah.
any similarities, or would there be any differences?
Well, naively, I always used to say when we first got pregnant, I was like, look, if it's a boy, I've got a little boy covered. I know what you do with a boy. Pretty easy. You play football, you get him down the park. And I was like, but with a girl, like, what do you do with a girl?
What do you think? It's
So,
true. It's actually true. Yeah, I've not thought about that really. I think I would just
yeah.
just leave her to my wife. To be honest, because I'm like, I think you're best for this.
Yeah, well, I've got a friend who he had three girls.
Oh
No,
wow.
he had four girls, and when I had my little boy, he used to message me because I put pictures on Snapchat or whatever, and he'd
Yeah.
always reply saying, "Oh, I'm so jealous. I'd love to have a little boy." I'd be like, "Mate, just have a
There
go.
you
Like, have another one. Go on, give it a go." And he's like, I can't risk another girl." But you know what he did? He risked another girl, he risked it, and he got a boy on
go.
his fifth go.
Oh wow.
So
Wow. Yeah, just like me
that's
then.
it though.
Oh yeah. It has to be. Did you try again? I'm another girl.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
no.
That'd have been hard. I mean, you know yourself, growing up in that, like growing up with four girls. So
Yeah. I mean, yeah, the girls will just hate you, really, to be honest, because yeah, yeah, your parents, especially if you're the last born. I mean, I wasn't the last born, but thinking about your friend, if the boy is gonna be the last born, then yeah, it's
yeah,
gonna have a very difficult time.
yeah. So
Yeah.
presumably, because the world's been locked down, you haven't managed to take your son back to Nigeria to see family or anything.
No, no, I haven't. Just hoping for everything to settle down, and just, yeah, like I said, we do like traveling. That's one thing we're trying to instill in our son, just to be very cultured, and
Yeah,
just be able to experience different places, from as early as possible.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's important. I think I didn't have a holiday until I was about 16. I don't think so. We didn't do that
You're good.
in
I
my
didn't have
family.
a holiday till I came to this
No.
country.
Wow.
This was my
Yeah.
first. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why for me it was always important that I wanted my boy to, because you know what it's like growing up. You see your friends all shooting off all over the world, and you're just sat there like,
Mm,
see
mm,
ya.
yeah. No, it's true. It's definitely true. I mean, we always want the best for our children. We always want to give them the things we didn't have. Obviously, the good things, the things that would make their life better. So I think that's what we're aiming for.
Yeah, that's it. That is the ultimate aim, is to, and I say this a lot and I write this a lot, that your ultimate aim as a parent is to make your children's life better than your own.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, I'm just going to say this quickly. Obviously, it's quite a tricky one for dad, especially. I don't know if this would mainly apply to like a young dad or new dad or wherever stage they're at. Just that that fear of not knowing how to raise your child. Like, what you meant to be doing at a certain stage, or are you doing the right things, or yes, it's. I think for me, that's all the things I'm sort of going through in my head right now. Am I being a good dad to my child to the best of my ability?
Yeah.
What are the plans that I have for him? How am I trying to raise him up to be not just a good person, but to be a reputable, man, and someone that would contribute to the society in a great way,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just for me personally. That's one thing I think I'm going through right now, and sometimes you just don't want to feel like you're going through the motion of just fulfilling your daddy duties, and everything will just fall in place. And I guess that's when the challenging part can be for some men. They might feel like they're not equipped enough because they're not grown up enough to look after themselves. How can they look after someone else? But
Yeah.
obviously, I'm not encouraging anyone to have a child when they can't even look after themselves. But at the same time, it's a totally different subject when then you're trying to look after a child because
Yeah. Do you know what I think? I think if you a few guys that have been young dads, and 19, 20, and been getting into trouble before that. One of them had been to prison, and he had the kid, and it just completely changed his life. And I think if you'd have asked him at 19 whether or not he could have had kids, he would have probably said the same. I can't look after myself. But having kids just changes your mentality and your outlook and your perspective on life. And actually one of my blogs that I wrote recently, I said that your life isn't over when you become a parent. It's a new life. It's a chance to reinvent yourself and become a better person and forget the old you. That's gone. That's that's your different person, and it's about flourishing and becoming a new and better person.
No, it's definitely true. Definitely true. I mean, again, yeah, it's a daily challenge of just ensuring that you're sort of placing the needs of your child before yours, and doing. It's almost like everything you're doing now is sort of to put them in a better position. I guess. Yeah.
No, listen, Junior, it's been great speaking to you. Thanks for coming on. I'll continue to watch your look at your fantastic pictures that you take on your Instagram.
No, thank you so much for having me. Yeah, I really appreciate it.
No, let's say thanks for coming on and sharing your story, mate. And we'll hopefully keep in touch and probably speak again.
Yeah, definitely.
Fab. All right, Junior.
Yeah. Take care.
Cheers, buddy.
Yeah. Bye.